Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got another one of the Cujo dogs with me. We've got MartyzBoy, who is an expert at deception. What's going on, Marty?
Hey Baba, thanks for having me today. I really like what you've been doing with the YouTube channel. Focusing on the new players and kind of teaching them the ropes. I think it's something that's it's awesome, and I'm glad to be a part of it here today.
Hey, thanks man, I appreciate that. And thank you for coming. So what we're going to be going over today, we're looking at all the new deception cards from the new Divine Order expansion, and
Mm,
I got them pulled up here. We might as well just jump into it, right?
let's do it. I'm excited.
Awesome. So starting with 1 mana, we've got Changing Locks.
I
And
think go ahead, sir.
I was gonna say, it's a 1 mana spell. It says if target creature has order, remove it. Otherwise, give it order +3.
Cool. My thoughts on this card right now are I think it's pretty strong. Order in the whole expansion right now has been orders everywhere, right? And Deception's been kind of blessed with that option of removing order or giving order. Um, I see this card for 1 mana. I think it can be pretty good, especially in some combo-oriented decks, um, which with a few cards that we'll see a little later.
Yeah, for
So,
sure. I think, when they first announced they were doing order, we were all like, well, what the heck's order? And what
yeah.
it is, it just kind of locks up a creature for a turn. So this says order 3. When you pass your turn, it'll be at order 2. When your opponent passes a turn, it'll be back at order 1. And then we'll be looking at some creatures here in a sec that are going to have cool effects,
Mhm.
whether they have order or if they lose order. But I agree with you. This card is like, it's kind of like a key tool as far as like triggering those effects.
Another thing that's kind of nice about this is, order gives the option of hiding a creature that is a frontline. Um,
Oh
so
yeah.
it's a one. It can also be a 1 mana hide a frontline. So if you need to end up pushing a little extra damage, or you have lethal on board, and all of a sudden someone drops that frontline and prevents it, now you have that option of kind of hiding that the same way cheat does, right? But for one less mana. Um, Definitely a lot of utility behind this card. I think it's a pretty solid card.
Yes, sir. Okay, next we're going to be looking at our first creature, the Patient Pickpocket, and this one has order 3 is there's that order keyword again. It also has flank, and it says when this creature loses order, add a copy of a random card in your opponent's hand to your hand. So,
I think this card is a little slow. Um, a lot of us, I know you and myself both, and hopefully, a bunch of people watching this today were able to try the PTR there when they allowed us to try all these new cards. And this is one that interested me at first. Originally, before playtesting on the PTR, when it said when a creature loses order, I assumed it meant per turn. So you would end up receiving 3 cards from this creature, is what my original thought was. In which case, that would be extremely strong.
oh yeah.
Um, and after trying this, I realized that it's once it fully loses order. Um, and it became just slow. So it's a 1 mana 1/3 that you end up getting a card 3 turns down the line if it stays alive. Um, I don't know. It could be good in a few of the deck steal. Like I know Deception has a lot of deck steal. It's something that it loves to do.
hmm
It could be good, but I think there's probably better alternatives for it. That being said, though, um, we just looked at changing locks, which can remove order from a creature. Um, that's 2 mana, 1/3 steal a card, like copy a card, and that's not necessarily bad. So there's combos and ways around it, but by itself, I think it's a little slow.
Yeah, I agree too, and I think it'd also be a little bit better if it wasn't opponent's hand,
True.
because you have cards that like Vault Vagabond, which just takes or the next card that they're about to draw, right?
hmm
So
The one interesting thing when it comes to a card from your opponent's hand is it gives you that knowledge of what your opponent is holding,
true,
right?
yeah.
So it is kind of nice seeing like from your opponent's hand, because the same way that that mimic card does, from Genesis, where Mimicus, I believe it's called, where
Yeah, Mimicus.
it pretends to be a creature or in your opponent's hand. It's a little bit of that extra knowledge that you get knowing like, okay, cool, they're holding on to this. I have to kind of play around this, or so it is kind of nice. It's just a little slow.
Yeah, yeah. So I could see it maybe in like some sort of deck steal guild deck, but I think I agree with you. Like, there's better choices for 1 mana.
Sure.
And moving on, we've got Piercing Bolt. I personally really like this card, and the text says, so it removes all armor from target creature, and then it deals 2 damage to it.
I haven't tried this card yet. I'm assuming you have here on the PTR. I know you're doing a lot of the deception style decks. It's interesting. There's a few cards that I can think of. One of which I'm unsure the name of, but it's the nature card that's the 7 mana rush creature that has 6 armor and only 1 health. Like, this is a 1 mana remove that card, which is pretty good.
It is really good.
Yeah,
it is definitely like a tech card, and like I talked about this in the nature video too, like because people are complaining about armor being overpowered, but I mean this card right here, it's 1 mana and it just deals with like half of those overpowered armor cards. So
yeah, that's true.
I think it's like, I don't know, I guess it depends. We'll see where the meta goes, but if people are playing armored creatures, then this card would be a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially for 1 mana. It's wild.
Yeah, and then I think 2 damage, like even if they don't have armor, 2 damage for 1 mana isn't terrible.
Yeah, it could be any target, Because it does say remove all armor, then deal 2 damage. So whether they have armor or not, you're likely still doing that 2 damage for 1 mana. It's a solid little clear spell.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, cool card. And I think Deception may be the only domain that got the like armor removal tools, but I'm not.
I think you're right. Yeah. I do like that art. The card art. I think that card art is very nice.
Yeah, it looks good in shadow. I mean, all these Deception cards look good in shadow, but
I'm a sucker for shadow Deception cards.
Yeah, so let's take a look at this next one, because I know we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording. We've got Prisoner Exchange. It's a 1 mana. This one is an epic card, and it says remove order from each of your creatures with order, and then give them order +2 at the start of your opponent's turn.
So
a lot to take in.
I think this card is very strong. You're gonna Deception was blessed with a bunch of different order creatures. We just saw the one with the patient pickpocketer there. This gives that option for that patient pickpocketer, for example, to take a card right away from the opponent's hand by removing that order, and then as you pass it over, you're putting that order right back on it. So when it's removed again, you're getting 2. So it gives the order buffs like that extra, the extra after effect, which is kind of nice, saying that your creature sticks. There's a few cards in this set, one of the legendaries that we'll definitely be talking about later, that when comboed with this card, very, very strong. Like being able to put order back on a creature that has that effect when it loses it, and removing it in the first place is just super, super, super strong, I think. So I like this card quite a bit.
Oh yeah, I agree. And I think if you're running any of these creatures that have that order or have an order effect, you probably want 2 of these in the deck. And
for sure.
Maybe even the first card we looked at as well, the Changing Locks. It might not seem like that crazy right now, but
on its own, they're not very good. But when connected with a bunch of these other cards and other options that Deception has, very, very, very good utility-wise, for sure.
So let's keep on going down the line. We've got another spell. This is a cool one. Stone Skin Poison. Give order +3 and burn +2 to a creature. 1 mana.
I know you've used this card quite a bit when you were testing. I think this card is very good. being able to, let's even just say, hide a threat. You're playing against death, and all of a sudden you see one of those 6/6, like 6/6 coming at you. You give it order 3, it's hidden for a turn, and it's burning. You're burning it. So, it's a bit of a stall card. It's a good burn, like a good removal spell. And you can also give it to your own creatures. So once again, you're giving order. Like, sure, there's the downside of the burn if it's to your own creature, but
Yeah.
giving your creature orders could be very strong, especially in the metas that could be coming once the set is released. Um, I like this card quite a bit.
Yeah, me too. And I think if you're playing a control deception, this would probably be something you'd want to consider. But I mean, it kind of works in any deception because of the utility of order. Like you were saying earlier, with the front line, you could throw this on a creature with front line, and now you're able to get around it.
Very true.
It seems good.
Yeah, I like this card. And once again, 1 mana. So
1 mana,
very
right.
nice.
Yeah,
it looks good in shadow.
Yeah. Yeah, this one looks especially good.
Yeah. Yeah, this Shadow Deception card's where it's at.
For sure. So now we've got the Talisman, and this they did a Talisman relic for each god, and Deception's Talisman is the Twisting Talisman, so it's got flank, and after you attack a creature with this relic, if the creature survives, swap the creature's strength and health. So that's pretty interesting. It reminds me of that Dionysian drunk from the core set.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know how I feel about this.
It's very situational, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a scenario in which case this would be really strong. 1 mana, which is kind of nice. So, maybe even like a Pyramid Warden, I guess, right? If you have a way of killing doing 2 damage to a Pyramid Warden, you smack that creature with your face, take the 2 damage, switch it over to a 6/2, and now you clear off that creature, right? Pyramid Warden, it could be a strong little combo. I'm sure there's other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head. It's an interesting card.
The one that comes to my mind is like the Portable Fortress, which is a 0/8. So you could just hit it with this, and it's gonna go from a 0/8 to an 8/0, which would kill it off. Well,
that's a good point.
It's not. I mean, it's not bad, but it'd be hard for me to run this with. Deception has so many good cards. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of tough to make room for
this when it's so situational.
Right. But I do think it's interesting, and again, it looks good in shadow.
Yeah, it does. I like that card art once again. I actually love the card art for the whole set. I think they did an awesome job with it.
Yeah, so. They killed it. All right, we've got another creature now, and we're in 2 mana. So this one's kind of cool. The Armor Lurker. It's got hidden, armor 1. When this creature loses hidden, it removes 1 armor. So it's a 3/1 guild. We've got a lot of guild creatures in the Deception domain. So
this one's interesting. Armor's pretty strong. I think armor's pretty strong. So being able to, like, sure, okay, it's 2 mana, 1 health, right? But that 1 armor, any pings, any one strength creatures are not getting through that. Which is interesting. So it's forcing 2 damage to have to kill this creature. And it's got the hidden buff. So, Hidden Rush or Hidden Rush Guild Deceptions. I could see this being played in. Keeping hidden for a turn, it doesn't allow them to target it right away. They have to remove the hidden from it. That's 3 damage. It's pretty good for a rush deck. And it's, like I said, it's got that armor to start. So even if they do, somehow get to it, you got to bypass that armor itself, right? It's not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad either, because right here, this is going to stop your tracking bolts from hitting it right away. It's going to, the magic god power that just does 1 damage, it's going to stop that. So
that's going to actually be removed when the set comes out, that new god power. Or that old god power. Yeah, so it's being changed to just deal 1 damage to a target.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually not going to be able to target this creature because it's hidden. which is
Right, yeah.
interesting. But the tracking bolt, I think, is a really, really, really good point. Or even an Auric Rush, right?
Or
Like how
a
many
crush, yeah.
times how many times do you see in war Auric Rush coming out in order to, kill off your cats and stuff? And well, this thing's not dying; it's staying there. So, um, yeah, it's definitely a really good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like a resilient. What's that one called? The Feld Tracker, the 3/1.
Yes, yeah,
That's what it kind of reminds me of. So I think this card may have a place in some hidden rush decks for sure.
I'll be trying it for sure.
Yeah. So next, this is a Marty special.
Yeah, I love this card
The,
so much.
we got the Cobra Scepter, and it's a relic. And what the relic does, whenever your opponent draws a card, it does 10 damage to their god. Oh,
So this card is good, very good. If you can draw it, which is the only downside, and if they don't have removal, it's only got the
right.
one durability, so it's very simple to remove this card with any weapon removal. But there's some crazy combos with this card, and even if not, and let's say your opponent's not running that relic removal, it's a ticking time bomb, right? You're
Yeah.
you're playing this. Let's say you get it early, you throw it down turn one, right? You pip it out, put it down turn one. Right there, you're telling your opponent, okay, you have 15 turns or less to beat me, because they're going to be taking 2 damage every time they draw a card. So you throw down that slight time bomb on them, right? And puts a lot of pressure on your opponent to A, try to get rid of it. And if not, you're slowly dwindling away at them. Some of the cards with this that I think are going to be amazing are things like the Inconspicuous Carriage. It's a card I used to love, could never really find the proper utility to use it. But for those of you guys who don't know what it is, it's a 4-mana 2/6 that, when killed off, whatever remaining mana your opponent has, it shuffles that many bombs into their deck. And each bomb does 3 damage when drawn, and also draws them another card. So in theory, you put 2 cards. We'll say you put 2 bombs in their deck, and you have the Cobra Scepter on. Well, they draw a card. Let's say it's that bomb, right? 2 damage for drawing the card. Then you're doing 3 damage for the bomb, which then tells them that they have to draw another card. Then they're drawing another card to take 2 more damage. Next thing you know, that's 7 damage just with a bomb and the scepter. So it makes your opponent have to play very strategic and make sure they kill that thing off without putting any bombs in there, or else they're going to get punished for it, right? And that's only 1 bomb. Imagine if they were to, not be able to use all their mana to kill it and have 2 or 3 in there. Add another bomb on that. That's 2 damage for drawing a card, 3 for a bomb, 2 for drawing another one, 3 for a bomb, 2 for drawing another one. That's
Yeah, it's a lot of damage.
quite a bit of damage. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this card is good, but once again, you need to draw it, and they need to not have removal. So very situational, and I wouldn't necessarily set up a whole deck revolving around just this card.
Yeah. I wonder if people will run this like as just a little bit of like extra damage in a control deck or something, because if you're at how much is stacked deck? That's a 5 mana card, right?
5 mana, draw 3, yeah.
Right. So if
Draw 3 for each.
you could play a Cobra Scepter and then play stack the deck. So that's 7 mana right there, and then you do like you're doing 6 damage plus when they draw a card on their next turn. So that's 8 damage right there for 7 mana. Like it's still pretty decent, right?
Yeah, there's definitely burst combos with this card that you can set up. As I mentioned, even just Ludia's Deception, right? Like that's 3 mana. You're forcing them to shuffle a card and draw a new one. That's 2 damage right there. So 3 mana, 4 damage technically, because when you pass your turn, they take 2 more. So there's little things, there's little combos you can do. I think the card has a lot of potential, and you'll definitely be seeing me make some decks around this.
For sure.
Or with this added.
Yeah, cool card. I also like that one a lot.
GU gods, please give me a diamond one. Thanks.
All right, so we've got another epic card here. It's called Counterfeit, and it's pretty unique in the sense. So it says if your opponent has a relic equipped and you don't, equip a copy of your opponent's relic. Otherwise, draw a card. And I didn't actually run this one in any of my PTR decks, but
I tested this card a little bit.
yeah.
It was cool. First off, in a Cobra Scepter mirror match, your opponent gets one, you have this card. Well, cool. Now I've got the weapon also. and it's really good against war. Like,
Yeah,
you know
super good
yourself,
against war.
a lot of relics in war, and you know, main one being that enduring shield right now. Um, if you end up copying an enduring shield and giving it to one of your hidden creatures, like the buff to one of your hidden creatures, like
Oh,
that's
it's
crazy.
insane. Yeah.
And even if not, like if you look at the second, like otherwise draw a card, like this is a 2 mana recycle, right? Which can be good. Like, you know, you're missing a piece in your combo deck, or you're missing a, you know, you need to just find that extra card, that clear, that whatever it may be. Boom, you're shuffling. Um, so honestly, that even that second half's not bad if you don't use it for the first bit. Obviously, there's single mana cards that you could do. That was if it was just specifically draw a card. But yeah, the versatility in this card is very good.
Yeah, you're always going to get value from it one way or another. And it's interesting, and it fits the theme of deception, just using your opponent's like creatures or cards against them. And I really like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be playing around with that card and trying to see if I can find good setups.
Yeah. And they made it an epic, so I don't know. I see cards that are epic, and I just am like, oh, this card must, in the dev's
Yeah,
mind, they're thinking like, all right, this card's a little bit better,
yeah, for sure.
But I don't know. That doesn't always ring true. Anyways, we're moving on. We've got the Demolitions Expert. This one's got Order 3. When this creature loses order, destroy a random enemy creature with frontline.
I like this card. I like it quite a bit actually, because in a lot of deception decks, like mainly I'm thinking aggro decks right now. You know, what's the worst card that can happen? Is dropping either a Pyramid Warden or a Frontline. It's forcing you to spend 2 mana if you were rocking the cheat, which is called something else now. So I apologize for using the old terminology, but um, you know, you play that, you have to use 2 mana to play the cheat just in order to do some face damage. Well, with this card, you know, you set it down. Say you have Changing Locks, or let's say you have Prisoner's Exchange. You're removing the order from it, and boom, you're killing off that front line. Sure, you're playing a little bit more mana, but you're not consistently having to use 2 mana to hide it, and like have that risk of them playing a second one.
Mm-hmm.
This card has a lot of possible versatility, and even if not, you play it down early. Later in the game, they decide, you know, within those 3 turns, they decide they're going to play front line. Well, that front line's gone.
Yeah.
Um, so I like this card. I think it's interesting, and a 2 mana 2/3 is pretty average on its own. So
Yeah. I
um,
think it's good too. Like, I can definitely see this being played in a hidden rush deck because, one of the things that's going to stop your rush is like multiple frontline, right? So this is going to prevent that. And like you were saying, 2/3 isn't terrible stats for 2 mana. So I like
mhm.
this card.
Yeah, yeah, this is a good one.
Okay. Then we've got another creature with the order, the Gorgon Gargoyle. Order 3. When this creature loses order, 2 different random enemy creatures go to sleep. And it's a 3/1 structure. I can't remember if I think this one can actually attack though once it loses order. I'm not 100% on that.
So yeah, I was actually going to ask that because I didn't really dabble too much with order. I did a little bit, and that was one of the things I was wondering is if you were to remove order on your turn, does it have a summoning sickness, or is it able to attack?
I think
And
I
if it's able to attack, then that's pretty strong.
I'd have to look at my clips, and I have some clips we're gonna put in here
Hmm.
as well. But I think you can attack, and it seemed like this one got destroyed. Whenever I played it, it would just get killed because it only has the 1 health. But I'd have to
What
look at that.
What's very interesting about this card is it's considered a structure.
Yeah.
And I know that this not as much for deception, but I know that this expansion is kind of pushing a little more of that structure aspect. So it's very interesting to see, and putting 2 different random enemy creatures to sleep, that very good in a control deck. Like deception's losing their sleep god power, um, as it kind of should, but it's having this kind of versatility. Once again, you play this, your opponent's got some creatures that are gonna maybe cause lethal. This card plus Changing Locks, 3 mana, you put those 2 creatures to sleep, right? There's A lot of possibilities with this card. Being a 3/1 is a little unfortunate because, as you just kind of mentioned, that 1 health, you're gonna lose it. It's gonna die off pretty easily. Um, but it's got combo potential, which is nice. Um,
For
Relying, like I
sure.
said, more so on other cards, but on its own, meh. But
Yeah, I
with
agree.
with a few cards, it could be good.
Yeah, I think this will be played. If it is played, I think it'll be played more so in a control deck. And at the same time, like there's a lot of other good cards, like control cards, you could run instead. But I don't know. It's not terrible.
No, something to try for sure.
Okay, now we've got Pray to Win. It's 2 mana, Blessed, and it adds a random card from the opposing god's domain to your hand, kind of like that stolen. What's it called? Stolen something.
Stolen Plans, yeah.
Stolen Plans,
Stolen
right?
Plans, interesting. Yeah, Stolen Plans is a 1 mana that allows you to basically gives you 3 options. You to pick one from your opponent's domain.
Right.
What's interesting about this, so it's just a random card, so it could be anything. For 2 mana, but then the Blessed, right? Blessed can be pretty strong. Or Blessed, whatever way you want to say it. I think it's okay if you're doing a deck steal. Maybe something with a Pan Marauder, and you're taking up a card, like you're pulling up a card. Not bad, not bad. Definitely one you're gonna have to experiment with a little bit more, or I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
experiment with a little more.
Yeah, and I saw some people were running a lot of blessed cards. Like there's a couple of different opponents I had that seemed like that was the kind of like theme they were going for with their builds, which I didn't try, but doesn't mean it's not good. I mean, 'cause you can get a lot of favor from the blessed cards. You can get sometimes it does damage or goofy stuff like changing the sanctum up. So,
And it could also be a good like mana float card. So you hold on to this card, right? You sit on it. You're gonna end up floating 2 mana. Well, maybe you play this card instead of floating 2 mana. You're getting a bunch of the favor, like you've mentioned, and you're getting a random card, right? Like a recycle. If you didn't, then you're gonna float the 2 mana in the first place. I could see it having potential. We'll have to definitely try it more and see. Yeah, I don't mind it.
that was Pray to Win. So now we've got our first legendary. This one is a structure. It's called the Hollow. It's got backline. After a friendly creature loses order, add a random guild creature to your hand. And the ability, it gives order +3 to a friendly creature without order, which can actually be very strong given the new creatures that have all these order effects with deception. So I don't know if did you play this one at all?
I didn't end up getting to play. I had it set up in a deck, but I didn't get to
Yeah.
play it, unfortunately. The first thing that I noticed is that it's got an ability, so it can't attack.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, which makes sense. It is a structure after all. And it's a skeleton heavy in stats for 2 mana. So it's pretty good. Plus backline, which is also pretty good. The first thing that screams to me is guild deception, right? You're playing a bunch of gilded creatures. You're getting more gilded creatures in your hand. And they're not necessarily deception guild either, which is interesting. I haven't tried this card. It interests me a lot. Have you been able to try it? Sorry.
Yeah. So I ran it, and I mean it is a legendary, so you can only have one, and you probably want to get this out as soon as possible. But the one time I did get to play it might have been in a game against you actually, but I got it out early, and it stuck, and I think the game I was playing it, I had some acolytes out, so I was able to just keep giving the acolytes order, and it was crazy. Like I was generating value, I was buffing up my creatures.
How slow was it? Is my question here.
So
Was this something that it took? Because it is three order that you give it, right? So, but it's also got blackline. Yeah, this card's interesting.
I think it is. It's like a turn because you give a card. So you have to wait a turn in order to use the ability, but then it comes
Hmm.
back, and you can use order +3. So then it's like, all right, then you pass the turn. It's on order 2. They pass it on order 1. Then you pass. So I guess it's like 2 or 3 turns until you actually get to start to see, um, like
Hmm.
the order buffs. But I think
If this thing was to stick on the board, um,
it's insane.
yeah, it would be insane because you could just constantly be playing those creatures. They can't get to it unless they got a spell. Um, and then slowly over time, it just starts snowballing, right?
Yeah, and I
So,
I have a clip that I'll put in here, but I actually had a couple creatures on board that were losing order, so I was able to generate. It kind of worked out perfect
mm,
when I played it, but
play it on a turn where a creature was already about to lose order.
right, right.
That's smart. I see.
But I mean, it is like it's situational. Like you'd have to draw the right cards early for it to like
Hmm.
really be good. But I think like this is definitely something you'd want to run if you were doing some sort of combo deck involving order. I think it's
Yeah,
pretty good.
yeah, for sure. I like the art once again.
Yeah, it's cool.
Hmm.
So now we've got another structure, and I know you played this one, the
This card
Grand
is so
Vault.
interesting.
Yeah. So what this card is, it's a front line. It's got armor 1, and the afterlife. Your opponent draws 2 cards.
So by itself, I think this card is trash.
Yeah.
You never want to be drawing your opponent cards. Like you're giving
Yeah.
them more options, more outs, more unless you're truly trying to deprive your opponent of the board state, right? Having that armor 1, it's difficult to get through. Um, yeah, it's very slow and it's very or not slow, sorry. Your opponent just gets those cards. But there's ways around it, right? Like Cobra Scepter, as we just saw earlier. Your opponent's drawing cards, they're taking damage. So throwing this body down when you have that Cobra Scepter, they've either got to get rid of the weapon before killing this thing, or once they finally do get through this thing, it is forcing them to take 4 damage. So it's a good body, it got the armor, it's frontline, um, and then you're doing 2 extra damage, even though they are drawing 2 cards. There's room there. I'm not sure how good Mill Deception is going to be right now.
Yeah.
Mill Deception used to be pretty good, right? I used to love playing Mill Deception. Uh, and if that's the case, I could see this card being played in a Mill Deception style deck.
Right.
Once again, a structure also. So not too much, utility with structures and deception at the moment, but there's possibilities there, especially with like card steals, right? Um, yeah, I think by itself, it's not very good. I wouldn't throw this in your deck if you just wanted a front line, but yeah, it can definitely combo and work well with a few of the other cards, especially from this set.
Yeah. It's like kind of like you were saying. It's really situational. Like, and there's definitely going to be people that are excited about this one. Like the people that want to play the Cobra Scepter, and like anyone that wants to run a Mill Deception. Um, but yeah, this is it's situational.
I will say with the Cobra Scepter, this card was very fun to play because you threw it
Oh
down and you're like, "Here's a body, deal with it." And they're like, "Well, I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to take more damage."
yeah. Yeah. So that is the Grand Vault. We've got another epic here. The Helm Hustler.
Hmm.
3 mana backline, and this one has an ability. This creature takes 1 armor from an enemy creature and then deals 1 damage to it. Yeah. 1/1 guild. So, what do you think of the Helm Hustler?
Yeah, I don't know if I like this one too much.
I don't know if I do
Um,
either.
like it's a guild, so you've got the option of reducing its mana down to 1, which then makes it okay, I think. Um, it does take armor, right? So if you were able to make this stick and creatures that you're like opponent you were playing against had creatures that had the armor, um, and like I said, it's stuck. That armor is going to start stacking. So that 1 armor next turn becomes 2 armor, next turn becomes 3 armor, so on and so forth. Um, and if this thing could snowball, maybe it's good, but No,
It's
I
hard.
don't think so.
It's hard to. I
I
could.
just don't think so.
I don't think it is gonna be that good. I can see a couple situations like the Bronze Gate. That's a neutral card we
Mm,
haven't covered yet in this series, but it's a. I think what's a 3 mana 2/4 with 1 armor, which is like super
yeah,
strong. So
very strong.
I could see this being like a good counter for it, but at the same time, it starts off as a 1/1. You have to wait a turn to use the ability.
Yeah,
It's not
and it
terribly
doesn't have hidden; it has backline.
right, and I
Yeah,
think most gods have uh, removal cards for this. You know, Magic has a ton. War's got Auric Rush. Nature has like some more RNG removals, so
mm.
maybe you would get lucky there. So I
But yeah,
think,
it's only 1 health, so any little ping is
yeah,
getting rid of this creature.
any little ping, yeah, right. So Athenian Archer, any of that
Yeah,
stuff, it's just gonna
yeah.
take it out. But I don't know. It is only 3 mana. It's got the guild, so
If we saw an armor meta, I mean, maybe you throw this in there, but
yeah.
yeah, I don't think so.
All right. So this is another super cool card,
Hmm.
Lady Marcella, and this is Roar summon 2 rogue skulkers with deadly, and the Afterlife summon 2 rogue skulkers with deadly for your opponent. So kind of interesting here. It's a 3/3 guild.
So I was lucky enough to join Clutch on the casting of our finals there for the Cujo Bowl, and this was the card that we were allowed to showcase.
Okay.
Um, and I like this card. I've tried this card. I played this card a lot in the PTR. You're playing an aggro deck, let's say. Well, you're starting off with, possibly 9 favor on board for 3 mana. If all were to go face, of course. It's got the deadly. That's a pain to get rid of unless you have some sort of ping. Um, the only thing that I did notice that was a little unfortunate is if you pulled the skulkers back from your void, they didn't have deadly anymore,
Really?
which is a little upsetting. Yeah, yeah. So it's not an actual, um, unless it was a PTR bug. They just have deadly. They're not actually creatures with deadly.
Oh, okay,
But
yeah.
um, and there's like a ton of versatility in this card. Like that afterlife sounds bad, right? Summon 2 rogue skulkers with deadly for your opponent. Like, why do I want to give them deadly? Like, it's not going to help me any. Um, there's been times when I've played this on 5.5, like turn 5.5, just in order to kill it off and give them the extra 2 creatures to rapture dance their board. Um,
Okay.
like there's a bunch of utility even with that afterlife. And once again, having those deadlies where you can, you're either forcing them to exchange creatures with a 1/1, or if they stick, you're getting rid of that front line that they have, or you're getting rid of that big creature that they have, or there's a for 3 mana, right? And once again, like that 9 favor you're getting, like Lady Marcella can attack like face or a creature. Both deadlies can attack face for 3 more favor. That's 9 on 1 turn if all 3 attack. So there's a lot in this card. Um, I like it quite a bit, and I hope I get this card. And it's also guild.
Yeah.
So
And I agree with you. I think this card is really good. And I saw a lot of people that some people see the afterlife and they're like, "Oh, why would I play this?" But it's not that big of a deal, right? Because if you're playing hidden rush, your creatures are going to be hidden. If you're playing a control deck, you're not going to really be playing much anyways. And like you were saying, deception has so many tools to deal with this. Like maybe you
yeah,
want them, like you were saying, you want them there on purpose so you can get the rapture. You could also,
even an Umber Arrow.
right, you could steal one with an Umber Arrow
Yeah.
and just kill another thing with your deadly, and it makes sense for deception and how deception's played. Like I think this is gonna be a powerful tool.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And once again, looks good in shadow.
Yeah. All right, next we got another blessed card. Actually, this one's Ludia's Dedicant. He's got the blessed there. After you use your god power, copy a random card from your opponent's deck and add it to your hand. 3/3 Mystic. You don't see too many mystics in Deception,
Hmm.
but this card is a little different.
I like that this is a deception card. It's definitely more versatile for the steel decks, like the deck steel decks. Because you play this first off, you get the blessed or blessed, which is going to give you that favor advantage. Maybe remove your opponent's favor, right? You control the favor game, which is good. And then let's say you're 5 mana and you're rocking cheat. Well, you're gonna hide this creature. Cool. You just use your god power. Now there's a card. Oh, next turn you want to attack for 3 and you want to hide this again. Ah, cool. There's another card that you just stole from your deck.
Yeah.
And that's just saying you're hiding this creature, right? Like that's not saying you're killing off a creature, or you're like there's so many times when you use your god power deception. It's I like it. I like this card. I think that if I was to run a deck steel deception card, that this would be one of the main ones I would put in, for sure.
Yeah, I also like it. Now I think about it a little more because it's only gonna cost like 2 mana to use your god power, and like it seems like as a deception player you're typically using your god power quite a bit, whether it's like the cheat or the new cheat or flip.
Even shuffling cards in your deck with flip. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, it seems pretty good. And I know like Nature got a 3 mana value card that's a 3/3. Magic also got the Owl. That's also, it's like the same thing. So I'm thinking this might be like Deception's version of that, but it just seems like really good value. And
yeah,
I can
3
see
mana
this.
3/3. Sorry,
It's pretty.
3 mana 3/3 on its own is good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
not
yeah.
amazing, but good.
Yeah, so I could see this card being played, and I think I might have to try this one out next time I run another order deck.
For sure.
Okay, so we've got Prison Escapee. He's got Order 3. When this creature loses order, summon another Prison Escapee. He is only a 2/1, but he's got the guild. And obviously, the order interaction. So, did you play this card at all?
I don't like this card.
No?
No, and the only reason I don't like this card is there isn't really any buff creatures or buff spells for deception. So it becomes weird. It'd be interesting with the Hollow. If you had the Hollow on board and you played this, currently I'm not sure how order works with backline. If you can attack the backline creature or not. If you have an ordered creature on board,
I think you can.
you can. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say that, like, it would be interesting if that was a case where you couldn't, because every time it losed order, you would put order back on it, and it would also have another one. But yeah, like without being able to really buff your creature's health too much, unless you were to steal a card from your opponent that does so. It's just a 3 mana 2/1 that keeps summoning 2/1s. I don't know. I don't think it's very good.
I don't think it is either. Like, I see what they're trying to do with this one. They're trying to make it so
Yeah.
they just keep like replicating, but I just don't think a 2/1 is strong enough. Especially when you see some of these other cards like the Acolyte coming up that's also 3 mana. The Prison Escapee doesn't seem as good. The 1 health is just easy to remove.
I'm really hoping somebody can show me a combo or a deck that revolves around this at some point, and prove me wrong, because I see a lot of potential here. It's just Deception doesn't have it that I'm aware of.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not sure about that one. But let's take a look at the Ring of the Siren. So this one's kind of straightforward. Just got an ability, give a creature order +1, give -1 durability to this relic. So you're getting this just to give your creatures to like trigger that order buff or what interaction, whatever you want to call it. So I know
You used this card, didn't you?
Yeah, and I was testing it because, and I realized that the order +1, because at first I thought like, oh, I can give something order and then it's gonna like freeze it for a turn, but with order +1, it's like as soon as you pass the turn, the order's gone. So this card is like strictly for just triggering order effects, which isn't
Lantern-bound Fae is what this card is screaming to me.
right, yeah, which is definitely good. So yeah, if you run the cards that have the order interactions, like this is a good one to have in there. You could argue it's a little slow because you equip it for 3 mana and then you have to wait a turn to use the ability, but it's got
4 durability is pretty good.
Yeah, 4 durability is really good. It's gonna it survives in a single Iron Tooth. You still get 1 charge out of it, so I think it's pretty decent.
Yeah, I could see this card getting used with a lot of the order options, and with that Lantern Bound Fae, we're going to find out, like, see later, or your Acolyte, which we're going to see next year. Yeah, I could see this having quite a bit of potential.
For sure.
Like you said, it is a little slow. Abilities are always kind of slow, but I kind of like it. I'd mess with this.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. And so now we got the Shackled Acolyte.
This is your card. This is one you like a lot here.
I do like this one. And this is where like these cards, like the Changing Locks, the Prisoner Exchange, the Relic we just talked about, this is where it's gonna all start to make sense now. So it's a 2/2 for 3 mana, but it has order 3, and whenever this creature loses order, double its strength and health. And what's crazy about this, so you play the 1 mana card, any of those 1 mana cards, to get rid of its order. If it's Prison Exchange, it's gonna put order on it at the end of your turn. So if you play the Prisoner Exchange, it's gonna double to a 4/4, and then puts order back onto it. So then it doubles again into an 8/8. And I mean, you can just keep on doing that and doing that. If you have the ring of the Siren, after it loses order the first time, you can put 1 order on it again, which is pretty much instantly doubles it again. So it's one of those snowball cards that, like, you have to combo it a little bit.
This is a card I haven't actually been able to try. I didn't end up trying this card. I saw it, thought it looked cool, but then when I realized that order, you had to fully lose the order, I was like, I don't know. But the way you've explained it, I've watched you play and a few like clips of how crazy this card has gotten out of hand. And if it's able to attack on your turn once you remove its order, that's extremely strong too. So I know I've watched you play with this card, and this card looked fun.
Yeah, it's super fun, and like, I don't know. I think if you just throw it out there, it could get removed easily because it's only a 2/2. But I mean, you get one of these, and then you get one of the cards that removes the order, and it's like, dang, and now you got a 4/4 for 4 mana, which isn't bad, and being able to just keep on doubling it, like, it's
next thing you know, it's an 8/8, then 16/16. Like, it would get way out of control, just snowball. Cool card.
It's super cool. All right, this is another cool one, the Shadow Matriarch. And I know a lot of people were talking about this one as well. So it's got hidden for 1 turn, backline, and here's the kicker: at the start of your turn, summon a Shadow of Lethanon. The Shadow Matriarch. Did you play this one?
I did. I tried to make a quickie deck with some of the new stuff and see what happened. This card is good. Don't get me wrong. It's got 2 health, so you can rehide it the next turn if you chose. But it's very, very slow. So like, you're at the start of your turn, you're summoning that Shadow of Lethanon. So your opponent's got a chance to remove it. It's a 3 mana 2/2 if so. B, the start of your turn, you're summoning a Shadow of Lethanon, so it's not actually even, Shadow of Lethanon isn't even doing that 1 damage when the first turn you get it. it can definitely get out of control. Don't get me wrong. You had a full board of Shadow of Lethanons for this 3 mana that you played. I could see how that could be a little crazy. But I think it's very slow, personally.
And I guess you could maybe say the same thing about that Acolyte card too. But one thing I'm starting to notice with these Deception cards, it seems like they're kind of like all threats, like a lot of snowbally threats. Like we had the Prison Escapee, which is just gonna keep like doubling unless you remove it. The Acolyte's like the same thing, but it's just doubling the strength and health. And then you got this, which is summoning a Shadow of Lethanon each turn. So I wonder if you played a lot of these types of cards, if like you just run your opponent out of removals and then you find, you know.
One of the things that I'm seeing, 100%. One of the things that I'm seeing that they're kind of doing here with Deception is, like you just mentioned, all these threats, right? Like you basically scream into your opponent, deal with this card now, or I'm going to make sure it gets out of control.
Right.
And I kind of like that, because it doesn't mean that any of these are actually very strong, but they have the potential of being very strong. And that's kind of what I like is with a lot of these cards, like you said, that Shackled Acolyte, for example, it's a 3 mana 2/2. That's not very good. But when you buff it and are able to play around it a little bit, and your opponent goes, it's just a 3 mana 2/2, I'm not going to worry about it. And next thing you know, you're coming at them with an 8/8. That's a card that can get out of control, even though it is slow. So these kind of cards are telling your opponent like you're essentially deception, right? Decent card overall.
Yeah, pretty decent. And now we've got Surprise Delivery. And I'll read this description real quick. Summon 3 0/2 explosive barrels for your opponent with order 10, burn 1, and afterlife deal 2 damage to your god. Do you want to talk about this one a little bit?
I've played quite a bit of this card. I like this card. Summoning 3/2 explosive barrels. If you're playing against, so not even going off what the card says yet, just summoning 3/2 explosive barrels for your opponent. You're playing against an aggro deck. You're saying, here's 3 slots on your board you can't use for 3 turns. Or 2 turns, sorry. That's good. That's good just on its own. Like you're and then you're saying, in 2 turns, I'm doing 2 extra damage to your face 3 times. So I'm doing 6 damage to you in 2 turns. Playing this, along with that scepter, or like you're doing so much damage, it's crazy. And it's those explosive barrels are creatures, right? So if you're playing a Pyramid Warden and they kill off your Pyramid Warden, like, oh look, you got an explosive barrel back. Let me do 2 more damage to you.
Yeah. That's happened to me.
I definitely think this. Yeah, I think it was me that did it to you. But I like this card a lot. I didn't like it at first. Like when I first read it, I was like, that feels like kind of slow. Like, but after playing it, I like this card. It's a very fun card. Very fun card to play.
Yeah. Did you talk about the synergies with Rapture Dance? Like,
no.
Yeah, then
that's another one. That's a very good point.
You probably have to do play this, and then next turn, play your Rapture Dance, but it's like an extra 3 damage for your Rapture Dance too. So.
And there's so many, especially when you get into the higher level, right? Like we play against solid opponents all day long, and they know, I'm playing against Deception. I can't put these creatures down because of Rapture Dance. And you'll strategically play around that, right? And this is one of those cards you throw 3. You're like, oh, you trying to play around my Rapture Dance? Like, well, here's 3 creatures. It's coming next turn. So that was definitely a good point. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, this is one of those cards I just think it's good in all types of decks. Like, it's good in control for the Rapture Dance reason we just talked about. It's good in an aggro deck because you're getting 6 free damage pretty much, and I think this is a really good card.
Sure.
All right, now we got another Marty special.
I like this card a lot.
The Golden Curse. We'll go ahead and put it on the gold for that. So, this card, it's gonna give each enemy creature burn 2, and when this creature dies from burn, your opponent draws a card. So what does that mean, Marty?
So this card is nice, especially if there's a lot of more control styled deception players out there, or maybe you're going with the card steal, or you just need to try to get combo pieces. Most of the board clears that deception have are 6 mana or more, and this is a 4 mana card that is putting that burn on those creatures, right? So you're saying, you got 2 health creatures, that's dying next turn. You got 4 health creatures, well then 2 turns, by the time I have my raptures and stuff, I'm killing off that creature. It's a little slow, but as long as those creatures die from burn, you're also getting card draw. So, I think this card is pretty good. I like it. I think it fits comfortably in a lot of decks. Of course, a lot more control style decks. But it's great. And then the part where your opponent can outplay it too is this card strictly says when this creature dies from burn. So that gives your opponent, like, you're playing against this card. Well, you have the option to kill off your creature in a way that isn't the burn, and then you're restricting me from getting that card, right? So the card is really good. Can also be really bad. If you have a full board of creatures and you decide to play Golden Curse to put burn on everything, well, you might not be getting any cards back. So depends on the style you're playing, but I like this card a lot, and I use it a lot in the PTR, or played with it a lot, tested it a lot in PTR.
Yeah, I wish I would have tried this card because I was running some control deception. Like, I would run this card right now if I could, just like that earlier board clear with the burn and card draw. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the Golden Curse. So yeah, here's a fun one.
We need to get that card in Golden. That's just
I know,
that's just
right?
a rule.
Yeah. Yeah, I really hope I get that one because controlled deception is definitely something I'm interested in playing.
Yeah.
So now we got this one of the. I love that artwork. The inconspicuous bush. So we got order 3. When this creature loses order, add a random card from your opponent's domain to your hand.
This card's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I like that it's a random card from your opponent's domain, so it doesn't mean that your opponent is running that card. It could be anything from that specific god. So there's a lot of potential cards that you could be picking up where your opponent, when someone steals a card from my deck, I'm going, okay, I know what kind of deck I'm playing. I hope you didn't get this card. But if it's just from the domain, then your mind goes through so many different cards to try to understand what would be a threat and what he could have got or she could have got. And yeah, it's interesting. I like that part. Order 3, once again, like, order feels a little slow if you can't do any removal from it. Thank God, deception was blessed with having all those removal, like order removal spells. 4 mana 5/2. It's not bad, especially with Leech Life also being moved from the game.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of attack.
Interesting card. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I didn't hate it. I didn't run this card at first. I think I might have on the second PTR run, just because I was trying to run all the new stuff. Yeah, I don't know if I would play this one. I'd maybe try it for fun, like in tandem with like the other cards that like copy random cards from your opponent. But yeah, I don't know.
Definitely some more playtesting needing to be done behind this kind of a card, but the art is perfect though. So.
Yeah, the art is perfect. I mean,
it makes me want to play it.
Yeah, art-wise, this one's probably my favorite one.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
That's pretty funny. All right, so we're getting close to the end here. We're still only on 4 mana, which is kind of crazy. Now we've got the Platepilfer. This one's got Blitz. After this creature attacks another creature, it takes all their armor. Again, 4 mana, 1/5, and another guild creature. So I don't know if you played this one at all.
I put it in a deck to try it, but it never necessarily came in handy. 4 mana, 1/5. I mean, it makes it more likely to stick, but you're using it strictly to remove armor, right?
Right.
So they either have to be playing that, that new structure there that's got the 1 armor in order to smack it in, survive, and take the armor. Um, maybe you're playing against like you got to be playing against nature basically. Like I don't know where more armor sits.
Yeah.
Nature or maybe light. I think light has a bit of armor.
But I think War got a couple cards with armor as
Did
well.
War get a couple too? Yeah. Like I didn't see enough armor currently where I would go, I need to run a plate Pilfer
Right.
or whatever this thing's called.
I'd agree with you there. Like, it is cool that it's Blitz because Deception doesn't have too many Blitz cards.
That's a good point.
But I mean, you're only blitzing 1 damage though, so it's not like anything crazy. But I think this is gonna be like a tech card. If we do see a meta where there's like a bunch of armor, or like maybe you're in a tournament and your opponent is known for playing a deck with armor, then you could tech this in. But I don't know if this would be run like right
Just
off
naturally.
of that.
Yeah.
I like the other card a little bit better because it's only 1 mana and it does it 2 damage.
Yeah, very true.
But at least we're getting tools in Deception where it's like, all right, if armor is gonna be a problem, like we've got some things that could potentially deal with it. Okay, so now we got another legendary card, and I'm actually kind of excited to talk about this one because I didn't see too many people talking about it. It's Skilla, Carnival Ringleader. She looks super cool. Order 3, when this creature loses order, transform it into a 5/5 Shimmer Scales and give +5 burn to each other creature. She's a dragon. See, this 3/3 doesn't really matter so much because as soon as she loses the order, she just turns into a 5/5 with backline. Shimmer Scales has backline. But I think this card is like super good as it's like a removal plus you get a 5/5 with backline. Burn 5 is quite a bit. This card seems good to me, like a mid-range.
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Cause you could be at 4 mana and a pip, or just 5 mana and like play the Changing Locks. You're giving +5 burn to everything, and then you're getting the 5/5 with backline. Like, yeah.
One of the first things that this card screams to me is that it's a dragon.
Right. You don't see too many dragons. Yeah.
So this gives you the option to run like a demonologist style thing with like the Dragonkin from Trials of the Gods, which can draw a dragon creature from your deck. So even though it's a legendary, which means you can only run one of them, you could throw that Dragon Caller or Dragonkin in your deck to draw this creature, which is pretty cool in itself. And then, like you said, like that 5 burn, that's super strong. And if you already used Golden Curse, you're guaranteeing that those creatures are dying from burn, so long as they don't die to a creature, obviously, like kill themselves off. But yeah, I like this card. I would definitely be willing to try this card. 4 mana, 3/3, summon a 5/5 or transform to a 5/5. That's pretty good.
And I think you'll see a lot of players like using this too. Maybe they're playing against a tempo deck and they're kind of behind, but this card I think is going to be like a really good tool for just like turning the tide and taking back over the game.
Yeah, for sure.
And Skilla, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but Skilla is a cool name.
Yeah, I like Skilla. I thought it was Skyla.
Oh, maybe
Skilla sounds cooler. No, I like Skilla. We're sticking with Skilla.
All right, let's go with Skilla.
Skilla's gonna be a fire killer.
Hell yeah. All right, we got the Handsome Devil. Is that you?
Favorite? Is that me? No. This is my favorite card name in the game. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I like that name a lot. So it's blessed. It's got blessed. It's got hidden 6/3, and it's another. What do you think of this card?
Um, well, first off, blessed or blessed there. I like that. I think, the playing the favorite game is very important. Um, Very important in general. You want to make sure you negate that from your opponent, or you get the cards that you need from the Sanctum first, right? So that's pretty solid. This card gives me the same vibe as that card from Trial of the Gods, Hooded Figure.
Mm-hmm.
So Hooded Figure was a 5 mana, 6/3, I believe, still. Hidden backline. Um, and it was played sometimes in some more mid-ranged aggressive decks, but didn't see too much play, or hasn't yet. Being that this has Bless now, mm, it's hard to say. It is hidden. It's not hidden for one turn. It's just strictly hidden. 5 mana, 6/3. I could see it getting a little bit of love in some decks. Overall, I don't know if it's going to be played too much.
Yeah, I mean the stats are decent. Like I know some people put the hooded figure in their like hidden rush. It's kind of like a budget shadewalker in a sense.
Yeah, a
So,
top end.
right, that'll give people some options. Like if you do a blessed or a favor deck, like this fits in nicely with that sort of
Very
thing.
true.
But overall, like I don't know if this card is it's too powerful, but it's not bad.
You could draw it with a Demonologist.
You could draw it with a demonologist, and in the future, if there's any other like synergy with Nether, then I could see this card being pretty
Yeah,
fire.
very true. A handsome devil.
Handsome devil, and again, like awesome artwork.
Yeah, it's pretty fire.
Okay, we've got 2 left. This next one, we got another legendary, super cool. The Lantern Bound Fae, and there's a lot here, but Marty's going to break it down for you guys. We've got 5 mana, order 3. When this creature loses order, pull into your hand and reduce its cost by 2. And you might be asking, well, why would you want to just pull this into your hand when it loses order? It's because the Roar does 4 damage to a random enemy creature. And I know you were playing with this card quite a bit.
Random enemy character, just to slightly correct
Oh, yeah.
there.
Random enemy character. Sorry about that. And this one's also another.
I like this card a lot, like very much so. Like this is my order card, like that I tried. I think it's very cool. So first off, deal 4 damage to a random enemy character. That's just natural. So you don't need to play around with the order. You don't need to. Just naturally, it's going to do 4 damage to a random creature or character. Maybe you're running a aggro deck. Might have the chance of pushing that extra 4 damage to the face to give you the game, right? But what I love the most is that it's when this like that starting part there. So when this creature loses order, pull it into your hand and reduce its cost by 2. So let's say you've been controlling the game. You're up to 8 mana, right? You have a pip left over. Maybe you throw down this Lantern Bound Fae, right? You do the 4 damage to a character. Maybe they have no creatures on board. You do 4 damage to their face. Now you play one of those 1 mana cards. The what is it? Prisoner's Exchange? Is that what it's called? I believe, or something like that.
Prisoner's Exchange.
Yeah. So you play the 1 mana Prisoner Exchange. You remove the order from this card, pulls it back in your hand. Now you play this card again for 3 mana, right? Of course, using your pip to do so. Doing 4 damage to them again, and because of that Prisoner's Exchange, this creature would then regain order, which allows it to be pulled back into your hand at a later point, once again, now being reduced by 2 more. So then it would be a 1 mana creature. And that's just playing with the order cards themselves. That's not even the fact that it's, got the 3/4. You can do 3 damage to the face before pulling it. And there's just so much utility, so much potential with this card. I think this is going to be a fun card to try to work a combo deck around. And I'm definitely going to try and figure that out.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely legendary. I wouldn't mind getting in one of my packs.
Yeah, me neither.
I think
it's also a Nether, so that means it can be pulled with the Demonologist.
The Demonologist, right. Yeah, it's a card. I could see this being good in aggro decks, and tempo, and control. Just a cool card.
For sure, for sure. This is one I want to see in my my legendary packs from the weekend ranked, right here.
Does look good in gold.
It does.
All right, so we've got one more card to go over, and they didn't add too many high mana cards to Deception, which is bummed me out a little bit. But we've got one here, the Professor of Murder. He's 7 mana, 5/3 guild, and the text reads, hidden after one of your creatures attacks, give it hidden for 1 turn. And its roar also give flank to your other creatures. So I don't know, did you play this one at all? Or?
So I didn't play this one at all. But
I didn't either.
What this card gives me is Genesis's Smoke Bomb vibes. I don't know if you're too aware what Smoke Bomb does. But Smoke Bomb is a 4 mana, I believe it's 4/4 with burn 1, that when one of your it's either Atlanteans or creatures attacks, they become hidden. So that's kind of what this is saying, right? Like, it's one of your creatures attacks. The one thing that I do like about this card is it doesn't say hidden for 1 turn, it's strictly hidden.
Right.
So if you're playing against, a type of deck that can't remove hidden creatures, so, I'm kind of looking at you, Light, you're going to set that down and it's going to just sit there. You don't need to attack with the 5 strength. Like, it can just sit there on board hidden, and you can attack with all your other creatures and constantly rehide your board.
Right.
And that's not saying that this after one of your creatures attacks doesn't revolve around this too. Like, maybe this can attack and regain hidden. Yeah, it's got potential. 7 mana kind of sucks for a 5/3.
Yeah.
But and flank, like, hey, flank is good on its own, right? You get flank to your creatures. You got a board full of hidden stuff, and you end up being able to go face and bypass all the front lines. That helps. That's good. Guild is nice, but 7 mana guild is not something that usually fits well in a guild style deck.
I think what makes this card decent, and I'm saying decent because I haven't tried it yet, is like you're giving your creatures hidden every time they attack. And I think what they might have been thinking when they designed this card, I could see this working well in a mid-range Deception deck. I mean, it would be tough at 7 mana. You are going to be going up against Demogorgons and like
yeah, true,
and that sort of stuff. Apocalypse Now, other board wipes. But
I could see this. I could see me trying this card, because if you already had a board and you threw this down, you're gaining hidden on all of your creatures.
yeah,
So you're threatening very heavy with this card.
it'd be crazy, and it makes them hard to remove. You'd pretty much need like a board clear spell, right, to get rid of everything. And yeah,
7 mana is the only part that's throwing me a little bit.
Right.
It is high cost, so that's all you're doing this turn. So situational a little.
Yeah, definitely situational. If I pull this card out of a pack, I'd probably try something. Because I've been playing Deception a lot recently and trying to like doing some sort of mid-range rather than like a hard control.
Yeah.
But like Deception really just never been like a mid-range kind of domain.
Yeah. Typically you get that aggro Deception, or you got like the sleep long game milieu Deception. So yeah, there's really never been that mid-range that focuses around those 4 to 7 or 8 mana section.
Right. So maybe they're trying to give a little buff to that sort of play style. I think it's yet to be determined whether this card will be good or not, but I don't know. I'd like to think
definitely.
It would work.
Yeah, I definitely like where they're going with it. It sounds interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, all right then. That is all the Deception cards. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I think I like where they went with both this set and the deception cards themselves. I like the versatility around, playing order creatures, removing the order, gaining order, giving creatures order. It's cool. I like that they touched back on a little bit of the older sets. So, you see that Shadow Matriarch, Summon and Shadow Elethanons. It touches back on some of the older stuff, connects everything, right? I like it. I like it, and I'm excited, very excited for when this gets released and goes live. I'm sure we could probably set up a video here for everyone about the types of deception decks that could be played.
Yeah.
Once this goes live.
Yeah, we should definitely do that.
Um,
And I'm also super excited. Like,
yeah.
some people were saying that they added too many keywords. I'm okay with it. It's making the game more interesting. I think a lot of people would agree that it's gotten a little stale recently, especially with like the current meta with war and all that. But the game's about to change, man. The game's about to change drastically.
So much so.
Right.
What I also like is that each god kind of got a little more love for a single keyword. So like, you go towards old deception we're looking at right now, you see a lot of order. It's
Right.
order. You don't see any frenzied. You don't really see too much armor. But then you go over to, war, and you see a lot of like individual creature buffing and frenzy. Like, or you go to, nature, and you're seeing a lot more armor and once again like that frenzied style, right? But not necessarily as much order. So I like how they kind of spread it out, where each god is kind of have its own little niche behind it, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited to try this, or well, not try it, but play this, and see what I get for my weekend packs that we've all been grinding out here. So, yeah,
For sure. Oh yeah, I think that's about it, guys. I appreciate you all for watching the video. Marty, do you want to plug like Twitch or anything?
I don't stream too often, but if you feel like it, twitch.tv/MartyzBoy is me. You might catch me here and there. Other than that, I'll see you guys on the ladder. And Baba, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, man. And yeah, with that being said, I guess we're out of here. So, peace.